Hello, story lovers! Welcome to Nana's Fairy Tales, where we share amazing and interesting stories. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when we upload another enchanting tale.
In a village where life was young and simple, where parents fended for their children by working on their farms and selling its produce. In this village was a man called Obi. Mazi Obi had 2 wives and 4 children. His first wife, Obiageli, had 3 children, while the second one, Adeze, had only 1 child, whom she named after herself, and they call her Little Adeze. Mazi Obi loved Adeze, his second wife, more because she's so homely and takes care of the home, unlike Obiageli, who rarely cooks for her husband and trained her children to be so insolent and unruly. Her kids run around, playing and throwing stones at people passing by. This made Mazi Obi to get countless bad reports about his children, but when he wants to punish them, Obiageli, their mother, would come out and yell at him. This made her children extremely stubborn and disrespectful. Adeze, on the other hand, is always with her loving daughter, teaching her how to do basic home chores. She taught her how to be respectful and never underestimate anyone. This made Adeze and her daughter to have a special place in Mazi Obi's heart. He loved them and spends most of his times at home playing with little Adeze and her mother. He buys gifts for only her, because when he buys for Obiageli's children, they would never appreciate him, no matter how big or small the gift is. So he stopped buying gifts for them. Mazi Obi is always with his second wife and little Adeze, always telling them stories while carrying little Adeze on his laps. They literally call her father's dead wife, as they are always seen together. This continued, and Obiageli and her children became angry and extremely jealous. They hated little Adeze, and her children will always beat her up whenever she gets close to where they are playing. Adeze would never cry. She would just run to where her mother is and stay by her side. One evening, tragedy struck. As Adeze was coming back from the market with her little daughter, a big tree fell and landed on Adeze. Little Adeze screamed and began to shout for help. No one was there to help them. She cried and tried to get her mother out from the weight of the tree, but her little hands couldn't do much. She ran home crying and calling her father. As her father heard her voice from afar, he ran towards her. Little Adeze took him to where her mother was lying under a huge tree. Mazi Obi cried when he saw his adorable wife fighting for her life. He went close, pulled Adeze with all his strength, and pulled her out of the tree. She was taken to the village clinic, but was already badly wounded before they could get there. She was revived, but couldn't be herself after the accident. Her whole world became shattered. She literally couldn't do anything for herself. She needs help to walk, to feed, and basically every other thing. This made her not to be able to go to the farm and fend for herself and her daughter anymore. Obiageli and her children became so happy. They made mockery of little Adeze and her mother. Obiageli stopped giving food to her husband. She would always laugh at him and say to him, "Go to your crippled and living dead wife to feed you." These words hurt Mazi Obi and little Adeze so much. Adeze would cry her eyes out, but her tears couldn't help her mother. Mazi Obi looked for the best physicians, but none could make his wife Adeze whole. Little Adeze had to start running errands for her stepmother in order to feed as well as get food for her mother. Obiageli took advantage of her. She would leave the whole house chores in the house for little Adeze to do, while her full-grown children would be all over the place, running and playing around. She would wash all their clothes, do all the dishes, fetch the firewood from the farm for cooking, and still come back to prepare the meal, after which Obiageli would give her so little out of the food that could barely be enough for her, let alone her mother. Sometimes, little Adeze will give all the food to her sick mother and starve. She would cry in silence and wouldn't let anyone see her tears. Obiageli's children would beat Adaeze up, even when she does nothing to them, and make her serve punishments that she didn't deserve. Their mother would see it and say to her that she deserves everything she's going through and even more, that she wished she would even die like that her living dead mother. These words hurt Adaeze so much, but she wouldn't tell anyone. She kept them to herself, for if she dares tell anyone, Obiageli and her children will kill her. Obiageli would come back from the market every day and call all her children. She would call them Oba, Ama, Ife, Komo, Adaeze, don't ever come here. She does this each time she's coming back from the market and bought goodies for her children. She would only give them and never give Adaeze. There is this hunter that passes by their house every day with his dog and watches how Obiageli treats little Adaeze. Each time he sees the little girl suffering, he will shake his head and walk away. He felt very bad for her. One day, a very dangerous beast was found by the hunter in the bush. He thought of what he could do to keep the beast away. He stood close to Obiageli's house and called her children the way she calls them each time she's back from the market. He screamed, Oba, Ama, Ife, Komo, Adaeze, don't ever come close. The children followed the voice, thinking it was their mother, and ended in the bush, and the beast tore them into pieces. As it was feasting on them, the hunter killed it. When Obiageli came home, she called her children as usual, but no one answered. She called and called, yet no one answered. She went in search of them, but couldn't find them. The news that some children were killed by a beast reached her. She ran to the site, and behold, they were her children. She rolled on the ground and cried her heart out, but nothing could bring back her children. She knew she lost everything. She came back to her house, sat on the floor and cried. Her husband tried to console her, but she couldn't be consoled. She confessed that she's responsible for her co-wife's predicament. She paid someone to cut a tree halfway and then push it on Adaeze when she got to that spot that day. The villagers looked at her in unbelief and shock and wondered how a human being could be so wicked. She was ostracized in the community. No one associates with her. No one in the village does business with her. She lived the rest of her life like an outcast. And as for Adaeze and her mother, after some months, Adaeze began to respond to treatment gradually. She began to learn how to do basic things for herself again, and they lived with Maziobe as a happy family. And this story is a reminder that whatever evil we do to people is a seed we are planting, and we are going to reap it 1,000 folds. Thank you for listening to this amazing story. I hope you had a night time and you enjoyed the story. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when we upload another amazing story. Till then, see you around.